Seraphim, flames of worship. When the prophet Isaiah was lifted into vision, heaven opened before him, and he saw what human eyes were never meant to endure, the throne of Jehovah high and exalted, its train filling the temple with light. Around it hovered six-winged beings, fiery in form, radiant in holiness, the Seraphim, whose name means burning ones. Above him stood the Seraphim, each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory. Isaiah 6:2-3. The Seraphim do not speak to God directly, their cry is to one another, as if the glory of the Lord is too consuming to address head-on. They proclaim holiness in perpetual echo, their voices shaking the very thresholds of heaven's sanctuary. Theirs is the song of eternity, not new, not ending, not fading. In their burning presence, there is no pride, no shadow, only awe. And when Isaiah, overwhelmed by his own unworthiness, trembled before that brilliance, one seraph flew to him with a live coal from the altar, touching it to his lips and declaring, Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for. Thus we learn, the fire that purifies proceeds from worship. The seraphim's flame is not destruction, it is cleansing. Their touch does not consume but redeems, for the holiness of Jehovah purifies all who approach in humility. The cherubim, guardians of the presence. If the seraphim are worship embodied, then the cherubim are guardians of order, the keepers of the holy boundary between Creator and creation. From the earliest pages of Scripture, they appear as sentinels of light and flame. He placed the cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. Genesis 3:24. When man fell, the cherubim stood watch, not to exile, but to preserve the way until redemption would come. Their flashing swords symbolized not cruelty but mercy, for had humanity eaten of the tree of life in sin, it would have lived forever in corruption. Thus, even their defense was an act of divine compassion. In the wilderness, their likeness overshadowed the Ark of the Covenant. Their golden wings stretched above the mercy seat, and between them the Shekinah glory of Jehovah appeared in a cloud. And there I will meet with you, and I will commune with you from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim. Exodus 25:22. Between those wings, the invisible became visible, a throne of light upon a throne of gold. The cherubim did not speak, they simply bore witness that Jehovah himself dwells among his people. Ezekiel's vision, the living throne. Centuries later, the prophet Ezekiel saw the cherubim not as statues but as living, moving creatures, the living beings that carried the very chariot throne of God. And I looked, and behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with brightness around it, and fire flashing forth continually, and in the midst of it was the likeness of 4 living creatures. Each had 4 faces, and each of them had 4 wings. Ezekiel 1:4-6. Their faces reflected the dominion of creation, man, lion, ox and eagle, intellect, majesty, strength and swiftness united in perfect harmony. Under their wings were wheels full of eyes turning in unison, for the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Wherever the glory of Jehovah moved, they moved. Wherever he stood, they stood. They were living extensions of divine presence, revealing that his rule is not fixed to one place, but fills all heaven and earth. In this vision we see motion and majesty blended into one truth. The God of Israel is not static. His throne rides upon the storm, his glory flows through creation, his will moves like lightning through the ranks of heaven. The cherubim remind us that the throne of Jehovah is alive, not a seat of rest, but a chariot of purpose, carrying his rule into all realms. Voices of fire, harmony around the throne. Enoch, too, beheld this radiant order when he was caught up into the higher heavens. And the seraphim and cherubim and ophanim never cease to utter praise to the Lord of spirits. They cry, Holy, holy, holy Lord of the spirits. He fills the earth with spirits and with his power. 1 Enoch 61:10-12. The seraphim burn above, the cherubim bear beneath. One exalts in adoration, the other guards in obedience, and together they frame the throne of the Almighty. Around them whirl the ophanim, the wheels within wheels, blazing with intelligence and movement, all turning toward the same center, Jehovah enthroned in light. The meaning for us to behold the seraphim and cherubim is to be reminded of God's perfect order and nearness. He is not distant behind veils of mystery. His presence touches creation through the ministries of his heavenly servants. The fire of the seraphim cleanses hearts. The watch of the cherubim protects the holy path. And we worship in spirit and in truth. We join that same chorus of flame and reverence. Our praise ascends like their song, our faith burns with their light. The angels around the throne do not draw attention to themselves, they point all glory to the one seated in majesty. And in that harmony of heaven, the redeemed find their place, purified by fire, guarded by grace, lifted in worship before the everlasting King. The Lord has established his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom rules over all. Psalm 103, 19 chapter 5. The throne, the presence, and the glory of God. There are no words in mortal language vast enough to contain the splendor of Jehovah's throne. Prophets have grasped for language, fire, sapphire, lightning, crystal, but all these are only echoes of the unimaginable. The throne of the Most High is not made of matter or bound to a place. It is the eternal center of all reality, the seat from which creation itself receives meaning and motion. To behold it is to tremble, to see that all power, beauty, and life flow from one radiant presence, whose holiness fills both heaven and earth. The vision of Ezekiel, the moving throne when the heavens opened over the river Chebar, Ezekiel was lifted beyond the horizon of the natural and into the storm of divine glory. I looked, and behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, a great cloud with brightness around it, and fire flashing forth continually, and in the midst of the fire, the appearance of gleaming metal. And from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures. Ezekiel 1, 4-5. They were cherubim, living thrones, bearing the presence of Jehovah as they moved in perfect unison. Beneath them were wheels within wheels, sparkling like beryl, full of eyes, spinning wherever the Spirit directed. Above them stretched an expanse like crystal, and over that expanse there appeared the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of sapphire. Seated upon that throne was the likeness of a man, not a man of dust, but of flame and glory. Fire surrounded him, brightness crowned him, and the radiance around him shone like a rainbow in a storm. Such was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord, Ezekiel said, and when I saw it I fell on my face. Vision teaches that Jehovah's throne is not confined. It moves, it breathes, it carries his presence wherever his will decrees. His glory rides upon the storm, and his spirit directs the living creatures like lightning, immediate, unstoppable, alive. The revelation of Enoch, the crystal house of fire. Long before Ezekiel, Enoch also was caught up to behold the throne of the Lord of Spirits. In the book of Enoch, he describes a journey beyond the veil, ascending through the heavens, until he stood in a house built of tongues of flame. Its walls were of fire all around, and its floor was of fire, and above it was lightning and the path of the stars. And I saw therein a lofty throne, its appearance was as crystal, and the wheels thereof as the shining sun, and the voice of the cherubim. 1 Enoch 14, 18-22. Before that throne Enoch saw one, the Ancient of Days, clothed in brightness whiter than snow, his face beyond description. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, all creation fell silent. And beside the throne, Enoch saw the elect one, radiant as light itself, to whom dominion and honor were given forever. In that moment, Enoch realized what few ever grasp. Jehovah's glory is not static brilliance, it is living authority. It is light that commands, holiness that moves, power that governs galaxies with ease. The whole cosmos is his sanctuary, every star burns because he said, "Let there be light," and every flame continues because his spirit sustains it. Isaiah's encounter, glory filling the temple centuries later, Isaiah glimpsed the same majesty in another form. I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him stood the Seraphim. And one called to another and said, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory." Isaiah 6, 1-3. In that instant, Isaiah saw not only the glory above the heavens, but also the glory filling the earth. Jehovah's presence is not confined to the temple of heaven, it saturates creation. The whisper of wind, the crash of waves, the beating of a heart, all pulse with echoes of the throne. Even the burning coal that purified Isaiah's lips came from that same altar of fire that Enoch and Ezekiel saw, an altar that blazes eternally before the Holy One. The Apostle's vision, the throne of the Lamb, and finally, the Apostle John was carried in the Spirit to behold what the prophets saw from afar. At once I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne stood in heaven, with one seated on the throne. And he who sat there had the appearance of jasper and carnelian, and around the throne was a rainbow that had the appearance of an emerald. Revelation 4, 2-3. Lightning flashed, thunder rolled, and before the throne burned 7 lamps of fire, the 7 spirits of God. Around it were 24 elders clothed in white, casting down their crowns, crying, "You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things." Then John saw what neither Enoch nor Ezekiel could yet behold, the Lamb standing in the midst of the throne, bearing the marks of sacrifice. In him all power and all mercy converged. In him the throne became redemption. And every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea said, "To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be blessing and honor and glory and might forever and ever." Revelation 5:13. The glory Enoch saw in fire, Ezekiel in storm, Isaiah in smoke, John saw in a person, the Son of God, radiant in redeeming love. The nature of the glory. What is this glory? It is not light alone, nor sound, nor brilliance. It is the visible holiness of God. It is the perfection of his love made radiant, the justice of his throne made manifest. When his glory appears, darkness flees. When his presence descends, creation trembles yet rejoices. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Exodus 40:34. The same cloud that filled the wilderness sanctuary still fills the hearts of his people, not with smoke, but with spirit. His presence is not confined to heaven's palace, but dwells with the humble and contrite. Wherever his name is worshipped, his throne is established. Wherever his word is honored, his glory rests. Reflection. Ezekiel saw him in motion, Enoch saw him in fire, Isaiah saw him in holiness, and John saw him as the Lamb upon the throne, and all beheld the same God, Jehovah, the Lord Almighty. He reigns not as an idea, but as a living reality. His throne is both above the heavens and within the hearts of the redeemed. The thunder of his power and the warmth of his mercy flow from the same source. Every sunrise, every act of grace, every deliverance is but a reflection of that eternal light that never fades. This is the glory of Jehovah, not a faraway majesty, but a near and living presence, enthroned forever. For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Habakkuk 2:14. Chapter 6. Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son, and his power before the stars found their places, before time began to measure the heartbeat of creation. The Son was with the Father, radiant, eternal, and one in glory. He is not a created being, but the very Word by whom all things were made. In him, the invisible God is revealed. Through him, the purposes of Jehovah unfold in perfect light. The prophets saw glimpses of his majesty, but the fullness came when the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, the glory of the Most High walking among men. At that hour the Son of Man was named in the presence of the Lord of Spirits. Before the sun and the signs were created, his name was named before the Lord of Spirits. 1 Enoch 48:2-3. From eternity, the Son was ordained as the light of the world, the heir of all dominion, the elect one, through whom judgment and mercy would flow. Enoch saw him standing beside the Ancient of Days. Daniel saw him descending in clouds of fire. John saw him upon the throne as the Lamb that was slain. And in every vision, the Son is enthroned beside the Father, sharing his power, his majesty, his everlasting reign. The eternal Word made flesh. When Jehovah spoke creation into being, it was the voice of the Son that echoed through the void, "Let there be light." Through him, galaxies took form, angels were appointed, and life was breathed into the dust of man. Yet the wonder of redemption is this: the Creator stepped into his own creation. The Infinite clothed himself in humility. The beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. John 1:14. He did not come with armies of flame, but with mercy in his hands. He did not rule from sapphire and fire, but from a manger and a cross. Yet even in his humility, his power was never diminished. Demons fled at his word, storms stilled at his command, sickness yielded to his touch. The fullness of Jehovah's authority pulsed within him, for the Father and the Son are one. The King revealed in glory. Daniel saw the vision long before Bethlehem's light. Behold, with the clouds of heaven there came one like a son of man, and he came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. Daniel 7:13-14. This was no distant prophecy, it was a glimpse into eternity. The same one Daniel saw in the clouds is the same Christ who ascended from the Mount of Olives and will return in glory to reign. His kingdom is not carved from stone or upheld by armies. It is eternal, unshakable, ruled by righteousness and truth. The book of Enoch expands this mystery. The Lord of spirits seated him on the throne of his glory, and all the kings and the mighty shall fall down before him and petition for mercy at his hands. 1 Enoch 62, 2-3-9. Here is the King of Kings revealed, the Judge and Redeemer intertwined, power and compassion fused in perfect balance. He bears the authority of heaven, yet the scars of earth. His crown shines brighter because of the thorns he once wore. The Lamb upon the throne. In John's revelation, the final curtain of eternity was drawn back, and the apostles saw what all the prophets had